talk about maybe a slightly less controversial or polarizing topic, which I would love for people to watch this, and when they watch it, comment below, have that discussion. Discussions are good. We need to be open. Definitely, I think if you can be reasonable on both sides of the argument or the whatever you want to call it, the point is there shouldn't be an argument. If you're a sportsman, if you're an outdoorsman, if you're a hunter, we need to keep that community strong, united, together, and that's some other discussion that we can have. But you mentioned multiple times your wife and your kids, and in the context of what you were talking about. But my question is, what was your mindset, or why? What was the reason and kind of thought process as far as, okay, the kids are old enough now, or 5, 6, 7 years old, hey, we're going shooting, hey, we're doing this, kind of introducing us into the shooting world, into then the hunting world, and kind of why did you want that? Or did you want that to be a part of our lives, or was it just, how was that for you?
Well, absolutely. I found something that I enjoyed and I wanted to share it. Shooting, reloading, trying to get the most accurate load out of a gun that you bought, and obviously that translates into more accuracy out in the field. I am a passionate patriot, and it gets me in trouble sometimes. I've tried to get a little more control over that over the years, but Second Amendment rights, and we don't need to get political here, but I think it's no secret. And if you're unaware of it, I don't know where you've been living. Some other planet or something.
Somewhere.
Because
it's very apparent.
And it's not a conspiracy theory. It's real. And so maybe that's all we say politically about it, but it was something that I enjoyed, and I wanted to share it, and I had 4 sons. I have always told all 4 of you that, listen, if you're not into hunting, it's not a big deal. I'm not going to think anything less of you. And you've got a couple of brothers that have tried it. They've had some success. They've taken some animals, harvested some animals and such. But one of them, his passion is aviation and flying, and awesome. That's fantastic. We have to kind of pick and choose. Listen, hobbies, if we want to call it that, they're not cheap. I've never been snow skiing. I'm sure I would love it, but that's just another area that I'd have to spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in equipment to enjoy a couple of times out of the year,
in Arizona.
In Arizona. And then if you want to snow ski even more, and you have to pay money to travel and go do it in Colorado or Utah or whatever. But that's just an example. So yeah, I just I got bit by the bug. Enjoy it. Tried to introduce all of our grandkids, your children, and other siblings' children to it. Some of them really enjoy it, some of them not so much, and that's all fine. It's all okay. But I think it was just something that I really enjoyed and wanted to share it. And if you got bit like I got bit, fine. If you didn't, that's fine too.
Yep. 2 of us definitely did.
2 of you definitely did. Yes. And but yeah, you're young, and you've got families coming along, and you have a sweetheart that's trying to hold the fort down most of the time while we're gone to work and such. And there's no question it was an outlet. There's a lot of pressure trying to be a provider for a family, and all the pressures that come from that. Not diminishing in the slightest the pressures on the homemaker in the home, and trying to keep the kids and the husband fed, alive, and clothed, and on schedule, and ready for school, and just all the things that go with that. The dishes washed, the meals made, the laundry done. I have a tremendous respect and appreciation for your mother, my sweetheart, and sometimes those were some hard times for them. And if I had to do it over again, I wish I'd have been maybe a little more sensitive to that. But you know, you work through it, and you know, I hope I've answered the question.
Absolutely, and I'll tell you, I don't know if I don't think I've ever told you this. Your experience, you said, you know, if I had to do it over again, maybe there's some things I would do different. And I don't recall you ever really telling me, maybe some general suggestions, but you never really said, hey, I would do X if I were you. You know, if I could go back and do it, I would do X. But it was, I'll tell you, it was a direct, because of you, that over the years, and you'll remember, where I said, hey guys, I'm not putting in this year. There's just no way I'm going to be able to go and be able to, you know, look at my wife and kids and be like, hey, with whatever it is financially, in college, working multiple jobs, I'm going to leave I'm out of here, and sorry, you're going to have to figure out whatever, you know, whatever. And so for me, that was big, because that helped ease that of like, hey, because you know, I'm back in that time frame. You know, they're smart. They know when we put in for deer. They know when all that, and I could literally see it becoming a, like,
potential issue.
Here it comes.
Yeah.
He's gonna want to put in for deer. I don't know how we're even gonna pay for that. And then if he gets drawn, and then he's gonna be gone. And so for me, it was easier, and in my mind, for me and my relationship with my wife and my kids, I up front would tell them, hey, yeah, I'm not putting in for deer this year. Just not going to work or whatever. And then I would just, once those hunts came, if you guys did get drawn for stuff, I'd be at work and I'd be on my phone. Hey, send me updates, send me a picture, tell me what's going on.
Well, and that's a sacrifice.
All that stuff.
Because it's something that you have a passion for and that you love, and,
sure.
It's a sacrifice, and so it's a balance. I don't think I was out of balance too much. Your mother says, well, there were times that, you know, it seemed like every weekend you were going scouting or something, and so I do remember that. But she was amazing in that she recognized this was an outlet for
right,
me.
That it helped you.
That it helped me, and so.
And I've definitely experienced that with my wife.
Yeah,
as well.
so she did the sacrificing, you know.
As you started taking the kids, did that help in the sense
Well, that
of,
relieves things.
Yeah, there's less
because
kids
now
at
there's
home.
less kids at home to
You're
mess
spending
with.
time with them versus
spending
just
time with them and
leaving.
And they're getting, they're having
those experiences,
memories.
those memories.
They're creating memories
Yeah.
and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember my first hunt being 10 years old, and I want to say it was one of the teen units, 18A or 18B or something, I don't know.
Yeah, we didn't see a dang thing.
No, didn't see anything, but
not even a doe.
But you let us drive the Suburban down the dirt road,
yeah, your mom wasn't happy with that.
And you didn't tell us not to tell her when we got home. And so, what'd you do? Did you have? Yeah, we got to drive the Suburban, and she's looking at you like, that's our only family vehicle. What do you mean? What do you? And so,
are you crazy?
But again, I've done the same things. I've let the boys drive the truck. And so it's creating those memories of doing that stuff. I had a specific one to ask you about, because in my mind it was a big thing for me, and I don't know if it was significant at all for you, but in 2008 we got drawn. We've hunted Unit 22 a lot over the years. It was Unit 22, it was October, you know, that first October hunt for whitetail. Justin had done some scouting and found an area. Hey, we need to really check out this spot we'd driven by a bunch. So we go out first weekend scouting and glass up 3 bucks. 2 of them were thinking, yeah, for sure these are going to be over 100-inch bucks, and then another decent 3-point. We start making plans, right? Like, hey, this is plan A right here, and we start talking about it. That year, though, the other 2 brothers that don't really hunt anymore, they had tags. Justin and I had a tag, you had a tag, and I brought another brother-in-law that had a tag. So we had 6 tags in camp, which I think was the most we've ever had.
Yeah.
Kind of in our camp. You know, this year we're gonna have 5, but
yeah.
But usually it's kind of around 4 2 or 3.
Right.
But there were 6. And so we had thought, okay, well, we're going to have to split up. And so you took the other 2 brothers, Ryan and Aaron, and Justin and I and my brother-in-law were together. So we split up. And long story short, that morning, and we're looking for these 3 bucks, right? These bigger bucks.
Right.
And there's lots of deer in the area, lots of other bucks. And so you guys went down the trail and went down and we're glassing some other stuff, but we're all right there. And opening morning, it works out to where we find 2 of the bucks. That's one of the big bucks, and then that 3rd smaller buck. And Justin and I shoot both those bucks. I want to say it was like 500 or something, 500 yards. He shoots the bigger buck. It starts rolling down the hill. I'm on the other buck's 30 yards away or something. I shoot it. He drops. There weren't any other bucks, so the brother-in-law didn't get a shot on anything. But we go over there. We call you. You know, you think we're joking around with you or something as far as, hey, we shot this big buck. One's definitely over 100, you know, whatever. In my mind, it was significant, and Justin and I talked about it while we were taking pictures and cutting up the deer, that was the first time that I and Justin had ever harvested a deer or a big game animal without you there during the shot, helping, recovering, any of that stuff. So for us, it was significant and fun and cool in the way of like, hey, we can do this.
A rite of passage.
Yeah, we did it. And beforehand, I didn't even think of that when we split up into groups. And yeah, ultimately, I'm hoping we're going to fill our tags, but I wasn't thinking, oh, this is going to be so cool. Dad's not here. We're going to do it on our own. But once we did it, Justin and I were both like, oh, Dad's not here. And it wasn't sad at all. It was cool. It was fun. And then we met back at camp and we're measuring Justin's buck. He ended up going like 108, tons of mass, split eye guards, just a really cool big buck. And telling you the story and telling you how it all went down and stuff. And so yeah, for me it was significant. I don't know if on that hunt or later, if you thought about that at all in relation to, hey, these are the 2 boys that have been in it since they were 10 and have never stopped. And then they got this done, and if you had any thoughts on that hunt itself,
I hadn't thought about it in the terms that you had. Although I recognize that I was a little sad because I'd always been there, and so I wasn't feeling left out. I was happy for you guys, and I was excited for you, and it was a nice buck. It was definitely a good buck, but I was kind of. Sad may be too strong a word.
Bummed.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. I wasn't there, and I feel that way now with my grandkids and stuff. I want to be there.
Yeah.
I want to be there when they press the trigger.
Yeah.
I want to help find that buck for them, or whatever. And so I guess that's all I would say about that.
And looking back, I think so. That was 2008, 2009. The next year. Again, right? You can only have 4 people on an right. application, and so again, the other 2 brothers wanted to put in, so there's 5 of us. So you can't put us all on the same tag, and so Justin and I, and you, we said, hey, we'll put us 3 in for 24B. I'm trying to think. I think it was because one of Justin's buddies, I think Jake Schlink, he hunts that unit a lot. I think he had done some scouting in the summer and found some good bucks, and we were like, hey, let's go hunt some of these bucks with him. I'm thinking that's what it was. And then we put Aaron and Ryan in for 22 again, just because we know the unit. Well, that's what happens. We get drawn for 24B, us 3. The other 2 boys get drawn for 22, while the opening weekend's the same weekend. And so we talk about it, whatever, and we decide, hey, Justin and I, we're going to go hunt in 24B, and you're going to help Ryan and Aaron in Unit 22. And in fact, we're going to go try to find that 3rd big buck that in 2008 we didn't find on that opening morning or the rest of that hunt, And so again, just another hunt where we weren't together. Aaron ends up shooting. You find that other 3rd buck. He ends up shooting him in his bed at 270 yards or something.
Something like that.
Had to wait a while for him to stand up or something. But so I remember being bummed that I just wasn't there for that. That was his, 2nd deer or something, but it was a really good buck. He ended up scoring 102 or something like that. The next weekend, you were with me. I killed a little spike in 24B on Thursday, on the last day of the hunt. And that's actually the first hunt that we have on the Oregon Outdoors YouTube channel that's on video. It looks horrible. The
Wow.
footage is super grainy.
2009, you know.
Anyhow, besides those 2 years, you have always been on everything that I've killed. And yeah, it's definitely awesome. It's definitely a huge thing for me when you are there.
Well, the one unit, or the one deer, in fact, it's the deer right up here. We were we were in camp, and you and Justin had left. We were trying to get Zach back to school, and so we had backpacked in 3 miles or whatever it is.
Zach had killed his buck already.
Yeah, and
so you guys were gonna hike out.
Yeah, and so you know, we're all packed up.
That's right.
And we hear the shots, and I remember looking at Zach. Your nephew.
Yeah, my nephew.
I remember looking at Zach. We're 3 miles in.
And we were 2 miles further.
Yeah, and I said, "Did you hear those shots?" And he goes, "Yeah, I did." And I go, "That's your dad or your uncle, Jared, one or the other." And he goes, "What?" And I go, "Yeah." And I said, I looked at him and I said, "Are you ready to do a 9-miler?" And he goes, it didn't connect to him. 9-miler? What are you talking about? I said, "Well, we're 3 miles in, so we're going to go 3 miles out, dump our packs, 3 miles in, help load up your dad and your uncle's
and the rest of camp.
Stuff and rest of camp, and 3 miles back out."
Yeah.
That's a 9-miler. And he looked at me like, "Oh, do we have to?" And I said, "Yeah, we're doing that." And so I think we got you on the phone and said, "Okay, we're going to hike out."
Yes, it was me. And then when you told us that, because we were already talking about it, like, hey, we're gonna hike 2 miles back to camp.
We're gonna have
and
a
then
heavy
the 3
load.
miles, it's only gonna be 5 miles for us, but we're gonna have a whole deer, a cape, a head, you know, all the meat, all of our stuff, and then the rest of camp. And this is gonna be horrible.
Yeah.
And when you said, hey, we're gonna run to the truck, dump some stuff, come back, and we'll help, we were like, oh. And it was a huge help. But yeah, I forgot that you weren't there on that one. And funny thing, if you watch the video on that one too, when I connect with that buck, you hear Justin say, and he's just spotting, he says, "Man, I'm shaking like crazy. I just had a big adrenaline dump, man. Like, I'm super excited for you," because that was my biggest buck ever. First buck over 100 and everything.
Yeah.
And we were kind of working towards that, but
yeah, but other than that, yeah, we've been together with all the grandkids and their shots, and they've taken some amazing shots. The reality is, all of you have harvested animals farther than I have. I think my longest shot on a coues deer buck is 525, 530 yards.
Yeah. I think you've had a couple of those in kind of that range.
Yeah. Well, that one, you know, some might call it a Hail Mary, but it was calculated.
Kentucky windage.
It was calculated. I knew exactly where I needed to hold for 500 yards, and we were
walking
it up, you know, and got it done. Yeah, to see grandkids, your boys and granddaughters harvest animals because they've done the due diligence. They've been at our private little setup range that we've set up steel at and so on, at all kinds of yardages from 300 out to 900 and something yards, and spent the time and spent the ammunition and had different kinds of shooting situations with a 5-mile-an-hour wind or a 10-mile-an-hour wind, and much more than 10. I don't think we've tried to really.
No, I think 10's about the most we've dealt with.
If it's more than that, we're not going to do that. And so again, it's this ethics thing. You got to make a decision, okay? And I remember those 2 deer that Parker and Shay harvested together at 700 yards. There was no real way to get any closer to them.
No.
It's straight down and straight up, but the conditions were right, and both of them 700 yards took those 2 bucks and filled their tags, and and then the work began. We had to dive into the bottom of the canyon and get up to the other side and get them and it was a hot day that day, and it was a borderline heat stroke and different things.
Cramping up.
Because it was an October hunt, and in Arizona in October it can still be hot. So, is what it is. Yeah. But this year, I have a tag.
In a good unit.
And in a good unit.
We know where some good bucks are.
We know where some good bucks are. Your brother's there right now.
Right now.
Because he lives there. Yeah. He lives up there now. He moved up there.
How long has it been since you've killed a deer?
I think this is the 6th year or the 7th year. You switch over. You get to the point where, in my mind, I think I'm at close to 30 deer alone. As far as big game animals, I think it's over 65 big game animals. And for a weekend warrior, over the years, that's not bad. I've been very blessed, but I've got 5 coues deer bucks that score over 100. Got only one that's over the 110. But yeah, you're trying to find that. You're trying to get into the teens or into the 20s, and I'm not getting any younger. So we're hoping that maybe this is the year. But the reality is, I have a new 6.5 PRC, and if it's getting down to the last day, and I've got a nice meat deer there, it's nice to have some summer sausage and get some blood on the PRC. So,
sure. Awesome.
That's, it's been too long since I've harvested an animal, so
yeah, I think
that's kind of the plan.
Yeah, I think for sure we have multiple spots, multiple bucks that we're checking on, and I think as far as odds, there's some odds that hopefully we can get some spot, at least, get back on at least a couple of them, and then during the hunt find at least a couple of them and see if we can
make it happen.
Make it happen.
The thing about it is, I have anybody watching this that they hear, coues deer or whatever, and they don't know a whole lot about them. They have some traits. They're called the gray ghost. There's a reason for that. You literally they can be there, and then you take your eye off your binoculars or whatever, and they disappear, and you go, holy cow, where'd they go? And or they go into a ravine, and they're going in there to bed down, and you sit there all day long, hour after hour after hour, and then
don't see anything.
You don't see anything. And whether they just don't even get up or whatever, or you come back. Anyway, they've got that trait, and we've actually we've been on a ridge and looking at coues deer doe on the opposite ridge, and having hunters walking along, and the coues deer doe literally maybe 50 or so yards from the top of the ridge, where the hunter's walking on the top of the ridge. Literally watch them just squat down. Literally just squat down. The hunter walks by, and as soon as he's out of, they raise back up and start feeding again. So there's some unique, and they live, particularly. My experience has been the bigger bucks live in tougher terrain. And you just typically don't have those 200 or 300 yard shots. You just don't.
Yeah.
And so it's a tool, and it's exciting. The conditions have to be right, and you get to my age, and you're kind of trophy hunting, and that's okay. But this year, we'll see what happens.
Well, yeah, and there's things too. You can call it trophy hunting, but the reality is, for a deer to get bigger antler size wise,
they are a smarter animal.
They're smarter, they're older, they're more mature, and that helps. All those things you get into herd management, game management, all that stuff. And so
they could very well
it's
likely
not
not even
just
be
trophy
not
hunting,
not even
you
in
know.
the contributing to the gene pool
Right,
anymore.
right.
You know, so we've taken some animals that the taxidermist has clearly said they're easily 8.5 years old.
Yep.
That's old for a coues deer buck. It's
Yeah.
old for any kind of buck, but
Yeah.
to make it that long and to go through the multiple deer seasons there are in these areas. There are some areas where coues deer have to survive 4 hunts.
All right, 4 rifle hunts.
4 rifle hunts
Yeah.
and then an archery hunt,
season,
you
2
know,
archery seasons.
2 archery seasons.
Yeah.
So they're definitely fun to hunt and they're a challenge, and it's good times.